Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video because it is going to be my 5th update for my 19 Shadows in 2019 project pan. This project pan was inspired by Lexi, so I will leave her channel as well as her project that she's done the last couple of years linked down below. This year she's doing a pan that palette, but in the past she's done pan those eyeshadows where she's basically randomly selected, I think typically she would do like rolling style 5 or 6 shadows and just see how many shadows she could pan throughout the year. For me, I decided to add my own little twist to it, and I randomly selected 19 different shadows from 19 different eyeshadow palettes to focus on throughout the whole year. At about the halfway point, since we are about halfway, I kind of wish I would have done it just the way where it's like rolling style, honestly. So I think next year I'll do it that way. But nevertheless, I do have my 5th update for you guys, so if you're interested in watching, then stay tuned. But first, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider doing so before you go. I post videos every single Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so for some reason, I like to torture myself. And throughout the month of May, I did a challenge, a palette a day for 31 days because there's 31 days in May. I did this in February as well, but in February I didn't allow myself to use any of the palettes going in my project pan, and I also randomly selected in February. But in May I just chose a different palette. I chose personally myself a different palette every single day to base my look off of, and I also allowed myself this time around to reach into other palettes for different shades. I just wanted, like, you guys will see when I post the video. So I wasn't super heavily focused on any of the palettes this month. I did end up hitting pan on one additional shade, which I'll get into in a little bit, but I'm starting to get like a hair nervous about being able to reach my goal on the 19 shadows in this project. I think I will hopefully hit pan on 19 eyeshadows this year. I counted before this video, I'm at 9 eyeshadow pans hit this year, which I'm a little discouraged by, but at the same time I've also been really good at cycling through my palettes by doing these like a palette a day challenges. So I know my palette collection has gotten more love than it ever has in the past, so that part excites me. But I'm gonna stop rambling and we are going to talk about my progress. First, I'm going to talk about the 4 palettes, I think it is, that I already have a pan on. So starting with, I believe this was the first palette that I hit pan on. This is from Wet n Wild. This is the Nude Awakening palette, and I have hit pan, as you can see, on this cream shade. When I insert pictures, I usually like to put a picture of the introduction and then where we're at now, but I don't typically do all 5 pictures from like January, February, March. If you guys would rather see that, let me know, but it's a little bit easier just to do like intro to where we are. I haven't reached for this one at all this month because I was trying to pan a couple other shades that are similar to this. I have one that I'm trying to pan in a palette that's coming up here that I'll talk about, but after I complete that shade or hit pan on that shade, I'm going to come back into this and see if I can just end up using up this entire shade. This is a palette that I will declutter at the end of the year. I don't really care for this palette that much, and Wet n Wild sort of just has a bad taste in my mouth now after all the controversy about their cruelty-free status. If you don't know anything about that, Google it. It's pretty bad. So then I hit pan on a shade out of my ABH Mario palette. I love this palette, and I panned this shade right here, which is in the shade Lula, and I believe the pan has grown a little bit since when I originally hit pan on it. So if I can get pictures of when I originally hit pan, I'll include that versus now. I used this a couple of times. I really like this shade for just like if I'm running late for work, I just pop this shade and this shade only in the crease, and it works really well for me. I really like cool toned eyeshadows, and I really always have, and this one obviously leans to the cool side, so I really enjoy this one. I could definitely see myself expanding the pan on this even more before the end of this project, but I do want to make sure I'm focused on the shadows that don't have pan yet. So then last month, my newest update was that I had hit pan on the shade Creme Brulee by Makeup Geek, And I'll show you guys pictures from last month to this month, but I have expanded the pan on this quite a bit. This is a really deep pan, so it took me forever to hit pan on this, but now I definitely have expanded the pan on this. I was using this as a transition shade quite a bit this month, so that's exciting to have some more progress on that. And then the pan that is new as of last month is from the Juvia's Place palette, the Deuce palette, and I hit pan on this cream shade right here. This is in the shade Berry Mousse. I had been using this to set my eyes. I had also sometimes gone in and just like use this as like a transition shade, or used this honestly as the only shade in my crease. It's a super light shade, so barely showed up, but gave me just like a hint of dimension, and I really enjoyed it that way. These again are super deep pans, and obviously as you can tell they're really large pans. I put this one away for a little bit, again just because I'm really trying to focus on some of the other shades in my collection, but I definitely will reach for this palette some this summer just to play around with it, and we'll probably see a little bit of expansion on this pan as well. So those are all the eyeshadows that I currently have pan on. I know, not a lot, but I'm feeling like we're making some good progress on other eyeshadows, so I'm hoping there'll be a month where I hit like at least three pans. So let's just jump into my progress on the rest of the eyeshadows that I'm trying to pan. So out of this quad, I feel like I add like new stuff to this every single month, but these 4 shades right up here are the 4 that I randomly selected from like my single shadows. If you guys missed my intro, I'll link it in the cards up above and also down below. I also have a playlist too if you want to like binge watch the playlist. Like I said, I've hit pan on Creme Brulee. I always lose that shadow. Thankfully it's never cracked on me. Maybe today will be the day. I used this one a little bit. This is in the shade Burlesque, but this is one that makes me nervous. I don't know if I'll reach my goal on this one this year. And then I also have the shade Corrupt by Makeup Geek, which is just this black shade. I have maybe used this one time, and I don't typically even like to do like a black shadow underneath my eyes as eyeliner. I usually like to do like a dark brown, so I need to find a way to use this. I have been using the black shade out of the ABH Prism palette, which is in Obsidian, when I've been going for a black shade, and I just don't reach for black that often. So this is one again that I don't know if I'll reach my goal on. And then the last single shadow that I have, oh, it did crack a little bit. It's fine. This is this white sort of like satin shade from MAC. It's in the shade Shroom. I've been using this as an inner corner highlight. You can see there's a dip going, a pretty good dip. I used this quite a bit this past month. It's a deeper pan. It's a little bit slow going. I'm confident that I will hit pan on this eventually. I think this one may take a couple more months, but I do believe I will reach my goal on that one. Okay, next up we have my BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette, and I am currently trying to pan 2 different eyeshadows from this one. We have Escape right here, and then we also have Boho right here. I absolutely love this Boho shade, and I actually really have been enjoying my time with the Weekend Festival palette. When I insert the pictures of the intro versus now, you'll see that like I've gotten great use. You'll see that I've gotten use out of not only the shades that I'm trying to pan, but also this Trixie shade up above I have used quite often as an inner corner highlight, and it is absolutely beautiful. I've also gotten some good use out of Solstice, and I've just gotten some use out of quite a few of the shades in this palette, and I just wasn't reaching for it much before I pulled this into this project, because this one for some reason just intimidated me a little bit because of all the color. But I have really been enjoying using this. This is one that I'm so happy to have in my collection. This might not be available anymore, which makes me so sad. I know it was limited edition. I kind of wish I would have purchased a backup of this before it went away. Maybe you can still get it, maybe you can. This is such a good palette at such a good price. Absolutely love it. So happy to be working on it. I could definitely see myself hitting pan on Boho this month, which kind of would make me sad because I just love that shade so much. I don't want to like run out of it. I don't feel like I have any shades like this in my collection that would be like a dupe for it. It's like this beautiful pink shade with like this golden shift to it, and I just absolutely love it. I love using Escape to like deepen up the crease and then use Boho all over the lid. Love it. I am very confident if not the next update, but the update after that, I will have hit pan on both of these. So these aren't making me nervous. Okay, so then I have my Urban Decay Born to Run palette, and I expected to have more progress to share with you guys, but this might look pretty much the exact same as the last update. I am currently trying to pan the shade Riff. I brought this with me on vacation at the beginning of the month, and I expected to get a ton of use out of this, but I also brought my Huda Smoky Obsessions palette, and I was just like all about that palette on vacation, so this just did not get much use on vacation. And then I was doing the 31 palettes in 31 days, so I only used this a couple of times this past month. I ended up reaching into this in some of my other looks throughout the month for shimmers, but I only ended up using this Riff shade I think twice, maybe 3 times this month, not a ton. I do still really enjoy this palette, and this is one that I am going to be focusing on. Again, I feel like I've been focusing on this one a lot, but I'm going to be focusing on this one again throughout the month of June. I'm actually double dipping and trying to pan the shade Riff for my Roulette Pan collab as well. So I need to make progress on this. Hoping, maybe if I'm lucky, this will be panned by next update, but it is a super firmly pressed shadow as well. Like, I feel like I've used this a lot, and you can barely see a dip in it. So I have a feeling this one could take a few more months, but I'm not really worried about hitting pan. I think I definitely can achieve that goal. Okay, next up we have my Alomar Cosmetics palette, and I am currently trying to pan this shade La Costa, which you can tell it has like a dip in it, and it's been used. It's just like a really weird looking dip. I need to make sure I'm like focusing my brush more in like a certain spot. I've used this a couple times this past month. I did a look with this. Actually, I just ended up using this shade for my look because it's just a really easy shade to just toss on your crease and like call it a day. I also, like, if I go to the gym and I just pop on a little bit of makeup, I will put this all over the lid and call it a day. I don't know how deep these pans are, but they just seem to be kind of deep. I also feel like it's a firmer pressed shimmer shade, so it's just taking me longer than I expected to hit pan on this. I think this will take me a few more months, but I also am confident that I will hit pan on this. I also love this shade right here. It's a green shimmer shade. I almost wish that I had chose that shade to try and pan. It's so beautiful. This isn't even part of my project, but I'm just gonna show you guys. Like, that is just absolutely stunning. And I've been getting more and more into green shadows for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I think green shadows are beautiful. So that is the Alomar Cosmetics palette. Okay, next up, the Huda Emerald Obsessions palette. I don't really care for the Gemstone Obsessions palette by Huda. I saw that she's releasing neon ones, and I keep telling myself like they're probably going to be, I don't know, for some reason I think they're going to be the same quality as this, but then there's that other part of me that just like loves the Huda Obsessions palette. And I feel like the Huda Obsessions are sort of like a, what do they call it, like a collectionist, a completionist. Like, I feel like there's that part of me that needs to like complete my whole collection. Even though I only have 2 of the gemstone palettes, and I think there's 6, I have all of the original ones. I really want to pick up at least 1 neon. There's 2 of them that really have my attention. And now I'm off on a random tangent. So this is the Emerald Obsessions palette. I was kind of terrified when I randomly selected this palette, and I wasn't really sure which shadow to select to try and pan. What excites me about this, and I say this I feel like in every update, is when you look at where this palette was in the introduction, I had virtually maybe used this 1 time and it looked virtually untouched. I'm trying to pan this shade right here, which you can see has a bit of a dip in it, but you can see I have played around with this palette some, which realistically the purpose of this project was just to get me to like use my collection and love the collection that I have. So even though progress is slow going and I don't honestly know if I'll hit goal on this shade, I'm really happy that I have gotten some use out of this palette because it probably just would have sat untouched all year. And then I also have my Huda Mauve Obsessions palette. Now I am trying to pan this center shade, and this is one that I haven't really touched much this year yet because this is more of like a fall sort of vibe palette to me, and I just haven't reached for it because I'm waiting till the fall time, trying to focus on some of these other palettes and then really hone in on this as we get closer to like September, October, November. So I don't even know if I've used this 1 time, so this is kind of like a boring palette. Like, my progress and my updates on this one have been relatively, well, they've been nothing, but I'm not nervous about this one. I think if I pull this out and really focus on this in the fall time, which shouldn't be hard because I love this palette, I will definitely be able to hit my goal on this. Okay, next up we have my Sephora Pro palette, and I ended up with 3 shadows from this baby to try and pan. Number 1, I have, so hard to like try and show you guys because I don't want the mirror to show. Okay, number 1, we have this bone color, just like stark white shade, and I don't know if you'll be able to see, but I have a good dip going on this. I've been using this to set my eyeshadow, which it's way too white for that, but I've just been making it work. And then 2 other shades that I'm trying to pan. This beautiful, I'm gonna swatch these ones for you because these are, in my opinion, like kind of unique. Well, probably not that unique, but I think they're beautiful. This green one's pretty unique. It's like a green shifty dual chrome shade that is so stunning and beautiful. I really need to reach for that one more. And then I have this beautiful like copper tone shade, which I absolutely love to pair this or to put this all over the lid when I'm using that Born to Run palette, like that Rift shade. These 2 are beautiful. I don't know how deep these pans are going to be. I have a feeling they're pretty deep. But I'm gonna probably hone in on these after the summertime. Maybe the green one I'll try and use some more during the summer, but like that copper shade just screams more like fall time to me. So I'm hoping by the next update I will have hit pan on this, and then again these are going to be ones that I think are going to be slower going, but I'm hopeful, fingers crossed. I'm nervous but still hopeful that I can hit pan on these. Okay, so the next palette is my Colored Raine Queen of Hearts palette, and this is another one that like I really have no progress. Every update I've had no progress. I'm trying to pan the shade Royal Prerogative, and this is one that just again kind of gives me fall vibes, so I haven't been reaching for this one as I've been focusing on my other palettes. I really do like this palette. I've used it only a couple of times, and this is one for some reason I feel like hesitant to use because for some reason it took me so long to finally just bite the bullet and buy this because it was so expensive. And this is one of those products that's just in my collection, even though I'm working myself, even though I'm trying to like work with myself to get over this, but this is one palette still in my collection that makes me not want to use it because there's that part of me that feels like if I use it up, it's going to cost a lot of money to replace. Such a stupid mindset, but it is what it is. This is one that I will pull out probably come September and really focus on this. I feel like I'm not really worried about this just because it is a super wearable palette. It shouldn't be hard for me to hit goal on this. Okay, 2 more palettes. Next up we have my ABH Prism palette. This is another one that was virtually untouched, and now I feel like it definitely looks like it has quite a bit more use. I've used this Obsidian shade quite a bit for someone who, I don't know if I've ever touched a black shade before this year. I've actually also used this Osiris shade more than I would have expected to. The shade that I'm actually trying to pan is this Lure shade, and I'm trying to pan a similar shade to this in my Carli Babel palette. I was doing a ton of purple mauve tone looks in January and February where I was getting some use out of both, but I've kind of eased back for a little bit. This is another one I was going to say I probably plan to pull out more in the fall time. The color story of this is just a little confusing to me. I just feel like it's like a bunch of colors tossed in and it doesn't necessarily make sense to me, but this is one that doesn't really make me too nervous. I think it, again, come fall time, I will be able to hit my goal on this, and I would love to see myself get some more usage out of some of the other shades in here as well and just make this look even more used, just because it's a really fun sort of palette. And even though it's a little bit more difficult to work with, I'm really glad that I got this palette because this is another one that would have just sat in my collection all year untouched, and I've really had fun every time that I pulled this out to use. Okay, and then the last palette is my Carli Babel palette. This was another one that was not getting any love at all. I'm currently trying to pan this center shade, which is a beautiful mauve tone shade. I think I reached for this one time this month, so it probably won't look like much progress between last month and this month. I have gotten some really good use out of this deeper purple shade as well, and then this shimmer shade has like a slight dip to it, but again, this is one that wasn't getting any sort of love at all, so I'm really happy that this one ended up getting pulled. I'm not worried about hitting pan on this. I think, again, come the fall time when I'm reaching for mauves more often, should be no problem. But after that, that is going to conclude this update. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Leave me a comment and let me know what eyeshadows you are currently trying to pan, recently panned, which ones were hard for you to pan, just anything about panning eyeshadows. Would love to hear from you guys. Other than that, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope you consider doing so before you go, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.